Christmas, everyone. I hope you've had an amazing holiday, and I have one more gift for all of you. It is finally time. I've been waiting to make this video for an entire year, and that is my top 25 roller coasters as of 2022. Like all roller coaster rankings, there's probably bound to be some unpopular opinions, so if y'all want to roast me in the comments, that is completely fine. Just keep it PG, please. This is a family-friendly channel. So, no more waiting. Arms down, head back, and hold on, because you're watching Coasterverse's Top 25 Roller Coasters of 2022. Kicking it off with number 25 is Rougarou at Cedar Point. What used to be the park's stand-up coaster, Mantis, is now a floorless conversion. Yes, it may be rough, but it's also extremely forceful, which is why I placed it higher in my overall rankings. It's not good enough to be higher in my top 25, and it is my least favorite B&M at Cedar Point, but it's still enjoyable, at least when you have your head forward. Next, at number 24 is the Beast at Kings Island. This ride is legendary, no doubt about that, but I'm sorry Kings Island fanboys / fangirls, but this thing didn't really do anything for me, except for that stupidly amazing helix at the end. I'm sure that I'm probably just being salty, only putting it at 24 because they kicked us out of line right before we got a Beast night ride for the fireworks. We were all just waiting up in the station, and they went, yeah, this will be the last ride of the night. So I guess it's probably just that. At number 23, we have the blue side of the racer at Kings Island. Yes, I'm putting one of the racer sides over the Beast. I'm sorry. I wasn't able to get on the red side when I went. However, the blue side was filled with surprise laterals and flowjector airtime. Because of the retracking, it also felt extremely smooth. It's an underrated ride that I don't think gets talked about enough. Number 22 is also part of a twin duo, or should I say, a Gemini. I'm sorry, that was really bad. I still firmly believe that the blue side of Gemini is better than the red. The red side is rough and forceless, but I found myself really enjoying the blue side. Also, the interaction between each train is always fun. Giving high fives to everyone, the atmosphere on Gemini is awesome, and it's definitely a Cedar Point classic. At 21, we have Mindblower at Fun Spot Kissimmee. In my video about this ride, I said that the layout was great, but the roughness kills, and I still stand by that. I knew it was going to be rough going into it, but I wasn't expecting a headache. Either way though, for my first gravity group, the laterals and airtime were great, the inversion was surreal, and the trains were comfortable. Just please, retrack this thing. Starting off the top 20 is Comet at Six Flags Great Escape. This thing is awesome. I would personally consider this as the most underrated ride of all time. Sitting in the front will give you great classic wooden roller coaster airtime, and for a park that gets neglected by its owner, it's one of, if not the smoothest wooden roller coasters that I've ridden. The front is surprisingly better than the back, and the chain lift is actually very fast. At number 19, we have Intimidator at Carowinds, and it's pretty safe to say that this thing is underrated. Many people say it's trimmed to death, and that the second half after the mid-course is stupid and forceless, and although I can agree with that second claim, the first half is full of fun floater moments that provide great views of the park. I truly felt as if I was flying while on this coaster, and it's not my favorite hyper, but I can always guarantee it to be a fun ride. Number 18 is a challenging one. Valraven at Cedar Point may be a one-trick pony, and many enthusiasts say that only GP like it, and yes, while I can see that, I found this to be a really fun ride. As many of you guys may know, I hate the vest restraints on this, but either way, the drops are fun and the inversions give great hang time. Is it the best dive coaster? Probably not. I've only ridden one, but it's still a fun ride that provides big lines, which allows me to ride things like Raptor and Magnum more because no one is there when I go, all because of Valraven. From one Cedar Point B&M to the next, Gatekeeper is a very scenic ride. Its color scheme is the best at Cedar Point, and it has a great blend of forceful and graceful moments, which is why it's at number 17. Its wing over drop on the left side always gives great hang time, and the keyholes are great head and foot choppers. It's the ride that always gets me amped up to go into the park because of its placement at the gate, hence the name. A sunset ride on this is a must, and the front and back rows are equally fun. Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens Tampa is number 16. This ride has everything. Launches, airtime, and inversion, just an overall good time. The operations could be better, but the train's capacity is probably to blame. Each launch is surprisingly powerful, and the airtime moments are strong. If it weren't for it being a family coaster, and if it would have more intense elements, it could definitely be higher on this list. Kicking off the top 15 is Afterburn at Carowinds, and oh man does this pack a punch. I'm sure that if I ever got some more re-rides in the front and back rows after it's warmed up on a bright sunny day, I would move it up in my invert rankings, but because I rode it on one of the first days and some of the first weeks in operations for Carowinds, I didn't. But the Batwing, first drop, and many other elements speak for themselves when it comes to intensity. It's easily one of the best rides at Carowinds. Another invert, Banshee at Kings Island, takes the number 14 spot. This used to be my favorite invert, but now it's second to last, out of 4 that is. Either way though, the first drop in the back row is enough to make it one of my favorite B&M roller coasters. Most of the inversions are intense, but the Rattle Investor strengths really bring this ride down for me. It's still a punchy invert that I absolutely love though. Yet again, another invert is taking the next spot. Number 13 is Raptor at Cedar Point. Back row rain rides can really do something to you, and although this opened almost 30 years ago already, it's still an extremely intense ride with a killer finale, the downward double helix, which makes all the blood rush to your feet and you can definitely feel it. Despite being a fairly old roller coaster, it's still one of the best rides at Cedar Point. Hey guys, guess what? We don't have an invert this time. Kumba at Busch Gardens Tampa takes the 12th spot, and this has got to be one of the most forceful rides out there, with one of the best color schemes out there and with the best zero-G roll out there. My two back row rides on this weren't too rough, contrary to popular belief, and sunset and night rides on this are amazing. This ride was pretty hyped up, and I was scared that it wasn't going to be as good as people say, but I'm here to tell you guys that Kumba is awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed your break from inverts, but I promise this is the last one. Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa barely misses the top 10, and this lives up to the hype as almost everyone's favorite invert. And yes, the Batwing is unbelievable. The front and back are equally great, but my only issue with this ride is that I actually felt nauseous after only 2 rides in a row on this. That might just be my motion sickness, but it's still an outstanding ride with great positive G-forces. We've made it to the top 10, and Copperhead Strike at Carowinds is kicking it off. I could see this model getting better than the Intamin Blitz in the future, and I know it's an unpopular opinion, but this ride type has just so much potential. Copperhead Strike's inversions are great, the launches are better than what I was expecting, and there were some sharp airtime moments. For a park that needed a launch coaster, Mach knocked it out of the park with this thing. I just really need to get more rides on this. It's just that good. We are already in the single digits now, and Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point takes the 9th spot. The first ever coaster over 200 feet. Dang. I can't talk about Magnum without talking about those ending bunny hills. Yes, this thing is rough, and the restraints suck. But man, those ending bunny hills make this entire ride worth it. Nothing beats sitting next to a friend experiencing these along with you as you cry out in pain, especially in the Magic Seat, Car 1 Row 3, which remains my favorite seat on this ride today. It is such an insane ride, and I cannot believe that they were able to get this crazy ride approved. Number 8 is another Cedar Point record breaker. Millennium Force was the first coaster to be 300 feet tall, and ever since then it has won many awards, being regarded as the best roller coaster in the world. And while I disagree, I can't deny the fact that this is an icon, a legend, and the moment. The airtime moments are great, and in the front row at night is the closest you'll feel to flying that I've experienced so far. Legendary ride, legendary station music, and legendary history. Number 7 is 80 feet shorter than Millennium Force, but Diamondback's layout is just so much stronger. You get borderline ejected at some moments, and the splashdown is so much fun. It's many people's number 1 at the park, and although it's number 3 there for me, it's still an absolutely insane ride that I cannot get enough of. Because of its staggered seating, the trains are longer, leading to more width, and I recommend the front and back row on this. I will never forget sitting next to my aunt in the front row while she's yelling, "Alayna, how did you get me to do this?" And I just sat there hysterically laughing the entire time. At the same park is my favorite wooden roller coaster. Mystic Timbers is my number 6, and this is a small but mighty roller coaster, just like the next coaster on this list. I don't care if the shed was a disappointment in your guys' opinions, but I think it all depends on who you're with. If you're with a bunch of older people who just sit there, it's really not going to be fun. But if you're with a bunch of teenagers who pretend to be scared of it, it's hilarious and so much fun. The ride is relentless too. The ejector, the first drop, everything about this ride is just pure insanity and fun. The laterals on this thing are out of this world, and I like to call the trains glorified couches. We've finally made it to the top 5, and we're starting it off with Maverick at Cedar Point. Once again, this thing is small but very, very mighty. This ride is the full package: inversions, airtime, launches, the punchiest drop on any coaster, moments that whips your head back and forth into the comfortable restraints. Yeah, I said it. If this ride didn't always have a 90+ minute wait, I would easily be lapping this all day long. It's currently my favorite Intamin, and I can't believe how good Velocicoaster would be if people say that Maverick is not as good. Number 4 is Fury 325 at Carowinds. Once again, it's one of those coasters I desperately need to re-ride many, many times. My one ride on this was around the 5th row in the cold, so it couldn't have been running as fast and as good as it could have, but man, it was still insane. The first drop carried on for a few eternities, but then went right into quick snaps that were equally amazing. It has great airtime moments, and the turnaround is surprisingly great. No matter what, this will always be one of my favorite coasters, and the layout and the beauty of this ride is good enough evidence for that. Number 3 is Orion at Kings Island. I made a full video explaining why I liked this better than Fury, for now at least, so I won't be going into great detail about that. But listen, I don't care if this is 13 feet shorter than 300 feet, and I don't care if this is shorter than the other Gigas in height and lengthwise, but its layout still packs an amazing punch that is unforgettable. Back row night rides make you question reality, and with that stunning lake package, I couldn't help but raise my arms and be mesmerized by this amazing coaster. Enough said. I'm sorry guys, but as many of you know, number 2 is Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. This is a perfect roller coaster. It has the length, it has the speed, it has the height, and especially it has the airtime. I don't believe I could see this moving down in my rankings for at least a little while, and yes, this gets long lines, but it's totally worth it. I could marathon this ride all day and never get bored, and the back and front rows are amazing. My friends say row 3 is actually the magic seat on this, so I'll have to ride that row next time. But either way, it has been dethroned by a roller coaster that beat it out, but only by a small margin. We've made it to my number 1, and as many of you know, it is Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Yes, it's shorter in length and duration than Steel Vengeance, but does it have any trims or a mid-course? Nope. Even during midday, it's hauling, and at night, it's a whole other story. The other thing is, the ops let you pick your row. So, if you want back row, you are getting back row. The only issue about this ride is the operation speed, and the fact that you can only skip the line on this thing once. But this is a perfect roller coaster from start to finish, and it's the best roller coaster I've ever been on. The drop yanks you for so long, and it's so intense. The death roll is absolutely insane and the best inversion that I've ever experienced, and that wave turn is so strong that I thought I was going to slip out from underneath my restraint. It is such a good roller coaster. But anyways, that's about all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. We are getting extremely close to 500 as of recording this, but we're also getting close to the end of the year. Merry Christmas to everyone, and I hope you enjoyed my top 25. How will it change next year? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Merry Christmas, you guys. Thank you for watching.